The US government owns 261 million ounces of gold. On the books, it's valued at $42 an ounce. In the real world, gold trades around $3,400 an ounce. The gap between $42 and $3,400 is not just a fun trivia fact. It's a multi-trillion-dollar accounting trick sitting inside the federal balance sheet. And there's a very real conversation happening right now, but what happens if that number gets updated with a stroke of a pen? If President Trump revalues a gold to market on July 4th, 47 days from now, the Treasury could instantly unlock roughly $4 trillion on its balance sheet. No vote in Congress, no new law, just a pen, a press release, and a very different financial system the next morning. I'm not here to argue with whether he'll do it or not. I'm not here to debate the politics or the personalities or whether you love or hate Trump. I'm here to show you what happens to Virginia apartment values if he does, because this changes math on every deal I'm working on right now. And even if he doesn't pull the trigger and the threat on this move is already changing where money flows. See, investors aren't waiting for the official announcement. They're front running the possibility. So let's break it down. So here's a mechanism broken down in plain English. Start with the basics. The US has this massive pile of gold. On the government's balance sheet, that gold is still booked at $42 an ounce, a number from the early 1970s that has absolutely nothing to do with reality today. Gold in real market trades around $3,400 an ounce. If the president signs an order saying, we're going to value our gold at market price now, you don't have to dig anything new out of the ground. You don't have to ship a single bar. You just change the number in that accounting system. Now, on paper, that reevaluation unlocks roughly $4 trillion of additional asset value for the Treasury. I want you to think about that for a second. We argue for months in Congress about a few billion here or there in a spending bill, and this is a button that could create trillions of balance sheet value in one shot. No vote, no new law, just a pen stroke. Now, markets don't care if that's a bookkeeping trick. They care about what it means. And the signal is three things. First, Washington just gave itself more room to borrow and spend. When your assets go up on paper, your ability to take on more debt goes up with it. Second, inflation risk just went up because more borrowing and more spending in an already stretched system is not neutral. That pushes expectations about future prices higher. Third, long-term dollar stability just got a little shakier. If you can change the value of your reserves with a political decision, that tells the world something about how scared or not your currency rules are. So what do big pools of money do when they see that? They don't sit around and wait to see how the press conference ends. They front run it. It's things you can't print more of. That includes gold, obviously, but also includes land, buildings, income producing real estate, anything with a real system of cash flows tied to the physical world instead of just keystrokes. And that's where Virginia apartments come in. And here's the part that most people get wrong about this whole cycle. They think the gold reevaluation is a gold story, that it's about how high the metal goes or whether you should buy coins or the gold bugs were right on Twitter. It's not. It's a cost of capital story. It's about what happens to the price of money, the availability of credit, and the appetite for risk once a government tells you we're changing the rules on our side of the ledger. And I can show you exactly what that does to a real deal I'm working on right now. Not theory, no academic chart, just a real Virginia apartment property and the math behind it. So an operator I'm advising owns a 100-unit building Class B property in Norfolk. It's not a distressed asset, bought it clean, good submarket, solid tenant base, decent bones, nothing sexy, nothing falling apart. See, right now that property throws off about $600,000 of net operating income, NOI after expenses. At a 6% cap rate, that asset is worth roughly $10 million today. That's just simple math. 600,000 divided by 0.06. He financed at 65% loan to value with fixed rate debt he locked before all of this chaos really ramped up. He's not in trouble. He's not under pressure. He's the guy watching from a position of strength, and that's exactly the position where gold reevaluation makes him richer without lifting a finger. So let me walk you through how that works, and then I'll show you where the real danger sits for operators who don't have this position. Cap rates through the deal. So let's stick with this Norfolk asset and keep the numbers round so you can follow along. So we've got 100 units, Class B, $600,000 of NOI, a market cap of about 6% and a slice of that submarket. At a 6 cap, this gets you about $10 million value. That's our starting point. Now let's imagine this gold scenario plays out or even just gets halfway priced in. The government signals we've created $4 trillion of asset value ourselves. We're more comfortable running the tab a little longer. Bond markets, equity markets, everybody looks at that and says, okay, inflation risk just tickled up. Future dollars are a little bit less attractive. I don't want to sit in cash earning 3% while the purchasing power quietly bleeds out. So where do they go? They move into anything that can pass through inflation via higher rents over time, benefit from a wave of capital chasing yield, be financed with reasonably stable debt. So in plain English, that's income producing real estate in markets with real tenants and real jobs. Now, cap rates are just the market's way of expressing how much investors are willing to pay for a dollar of NOI. If fear about the dollar goes up and the love for hard assets goes up with it, investors will often accept a lower yield on that same cash flow, which means a lower cap rate and a higher price. So demand for assets like this in Norfolk deal increases, that 6% cap rate might compress to 5.5 or even 5.25 as most buyers compete. Not everywhere, not every property, but for a decent Class B workforce housing in the real market, that's not crazy. So let's do the math. Same $600,000 of NOI, but now the market is pricing similar deals at a 5.25 cap instead of a 6 cap. Value of the 5.25 cap is $600,000 divided by 0.0525. That's roughly $11.4 million. So on paper, our operator just picked up over $1.4 million in value without adding a single unit, without changing management, without raising a single rent. Nothing changed inside the property. What changed was the cost of capital in the pool of investors chasing this type of asset. The market reprices building around him. Now, if he's also pushing NOI over a couple of years, renovating units, tightening expenses, working the renewals, and just letting inflation lift rents, that gap gets even wider. You might see $650,000 or $700,000 in NOI a few years in, and if caps stay compressed, the equity creation is enormous. Debt, where the asymmetry lives. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the point that separates the winners from the people who get washed out. Our Norfolk operator's debt is fixed, locked. He signed that note before the potential revaluation, before any spike in inflation expectations, before the next phase of money printing. That means he's paying the bank back in dollars that are worth less, with income streams that adjust as rents rise. That's the gift of this environment if you structured your capital stack correctly. But not everyone did. Across town, same submarket, same vintage, very similar product. There's another operator who bought in 2022 using aggressive bridge debt. Floating rate, 75% LTV instead of 65. On day one, it looked smart. More leverage, cheaper initial rate, juiced the returns. Then the whole world changed. Rates reset higher. Her debt service jumped. Her cash flow got squeezed. She's already had one ugly conversation with her lender. Now she's staring down a maturity date. She doesn't have the luxury of just sitting and letting this reevaluation scenario play out. She has to do something, refinance, sell, or bring in fresh equity. In a post-revaluation world where the government has signaled more borrowing and more inflation, the new debt she might get may look like this. Minimum 60 to 65% LTV based on today's appraised value. A rate in the 7 to 7.5% range because lenders are nervous about rates and inflation. Tighter underwriting on DSCR because regulators have spooked by the last cycle. Her NOI, even if it's decent, barely covers a payment on that new structure. She can't refinance cleanly without writing a big check. She can't sell at a price that lets her and her equity partners walk away happy, and she can't just ignore her lender and hope it all works out. Here's the uncomfortable part. That same cap rate compression that made our first operator richer on paper also helps her on paper. Her building is worth more at a lower cap rate, but she can't access the value because the debt is wrong. She's trapped inside the capital structure. The buyer who eventually comes in with fresh capital and fixed rate debt captures the upside she created through years of fighting the asset. The market rewards the balance sheet, not the grind. And that's why I keep saying this cycle doesn't break all at once. It doesn't look like 2008 where one day everything is fine and the next day the entire world blows up. It breaks deal by deal, lender meeting by lender meeting, one operator at a time having to admit, I can't refinance this the way I thought I could. Where the asymmetric upside value sits in Virginia. In Virginia, that dynamic doesn't spread evenly. Northern Virginia is already priced like a national money market. You got institutional buyers, government-backed demand, and a ton of capital that has been willing to accept lower and lower yields for years. A lot of the easy cap rate compression has already been eaten up there. Where I see the real asymmetric upside, meaning the potential reward is much bigger than the extra risk, as in Class B and Class C properties in Hampton Roads and Virginia. These are the real working class assets. They're not luxury towers with rooftop pools and dog spas. They're not falling apart C- war zones. They're the middle of the housing stack where rents can still move without immediately triggering political blowback. Tenants are sticky because they have jobs and families and connections in the neighborhood, and there's still a gap between what local mom and pop buyers can pay and what out-of-market capital is eventually willing to pay once they discover the submarket. Norfolk, Chesapeake, certain pockets of Virginia Beach, and specific neighborhoods in Richmond where vacancy is under single digits and rent growth is positive. That's where the math works hardest for the buyer who walks in with reasonable leverage, fixed rate debt if possible, and a plan to hold through the next wave of policy games. If this gold revaluation becomes a headline version of round 3 of money printing, those are the kinds of assets that quietly reprice upward while the news cycle argues about whether Trump saved or destroyed the dollar. Now for the uncomfortable truth. Even if Trump never actually signs a gold reevaluation order, the story is already moving. The countdown clocks, the speculative podcasts, the viral clips, the interviews, they all push more money. They all push people to ask one question. What if the dollar isn't as safe as I thought? Where do I hide? Every time that question gets louder, capital shifts a little bit more towards scarce assets, and it doesn't always look dramatic. It looks like a family office that quietly increases their real estate allocation by a few percent. A high earning W-2 earner who decides, you know what, I'm buying a duplex instead of sitting in cash another year. A regional bank that says we'll do more multifamily and less long-term duration bonds. That drip, drip, drip of fear and repositioning adds up, and real estate, especially in states where population and job anchors like Virginia, tends to benefit from that over time. See, the debt problem is real. The political incentive to soften is real. Nobody in DC wants to run on the platform of we're going to cut spending and let assets prices fall. So the bias is always toward finding clever ways to inflate the problem away. See, revaluing gold is one tool in that shelf. Maybe they use it, maybe they don't, but the fact that it's even being talked about tells you the direction of travel. So whether or not that July 4th deadline holds, the general path is the same. More creative ways to expand balance sheets, more pressure on the value of cash, more reward for people who own scarce, income-producing assets financed with smart debt. So let's talk about what you actually do with this as a Virginia investor, instead of just doom scrolling the headlines. If you own 0 real estate deals now and you're watching this from Virginia, this is not a call to panic buy the first deal you see on Zillow. It's a call to stop assuming you have infinite time to get positioned. See, in the next 30 days, whether you buy anything or not, you can get pre-approved or talk to a local lender so you understand your borrowing capacity in today's reality, not last year's. Pick 2 or 3 submarkets, maybe specific parts of Richmond, Norfolk, Chesapeake, and actually study them. Look at current rents, sell prices, and vacancy. Get a feel for what a good deal even looks like. Start underwriting deals on paper. Even if you never make an offer, the reps you get running numbers now are the same reps you'll rely on when something truly mispriced hits your inbox. And if you already own or operate properties, your playbook is different. I'd be looking at my portfolio and asking the following questions. Where do I have floating rate or short-term debt that could become a problem if the cost of capital jumps again? Can I refinance that, pay it down, or sell before I'm the one having the bad lender meeting? Or can I lock in good fixed rate debt now, even if it's not the absolute bottom tick rate of the cycle, to give myself breathing room if the policy gets weird? Are my assets positioned in the right part of the tenant base, not luxury that gets hit first in a downturn, not bottom tier that gets crushed by delinquency, but that solid, boring middle that survives almost anything? And if you're a broker, syndicator, or a capital raiser, your job in this scenario is to tell the story without turning into a conspiracy channel. Lead with math, not emotion. Frame gold reevaluation as one possible scenario in a broader pattern. When governments are drowning in debt, they look for ways to quietly move the burden from themselves to anyone holding their currency. So you show your investors on a simple slide what happens to a 100-unit deal at different cap rates and different debt costs. Show them the range of outcomes, including this scenario, so they understand why real estate in a place like Virginia can be a rational response, not just a vibe. So here's the bottom line. This isn't really a gold story, it's a positioning story. The direction of capital is drifting towards scarce, income-producing assets, whether an executive order gets signed on July 4th or not. The only question is whether you're standing in front of the wave or standing behind it. And if you're a buyer, family office, private equity, or private capital, the operators under pressure in this market are going to move when the lender makes a decision for them. And that decision usually doesn't show up in a headline. It shows up in a phone call and a quiet, we're exploring options. The buyers who are already in those conversations are going to be the ones on the other side of those deals when the dust settles. I've closed over $450 million in Virginia multifamily transactions. I know which operators are under pressure. I know which submarkets have the demand story that can actually support an acquisition in this environment. I also know where the landmines are, the assets that look good on a spreadsheet, but the one lender call away from becoming your problem. If you want to talk about what this gold reevaluation narrative or the next round of money printing actually means for your situation, there's a link in the description. Book a call, no pitch, no hard sell, just a real conversation about where you are, what you're trying to do, and whether this market is actually your opportunity or something you should sit out. If you came here from TikTok and you want the full version of these breakdowns, the deal math, the submarket data, the operator level view, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week you take on one big headline and walk down the way what it means for Virginia apartment owners and values for your money. I'm Justin, based here in Virginia. That's a position and that's the play.